ELI 5. Why is it so hard to decide whether viruses are life beings or not? And how did they even appear? ELI 5. Why is it so hard to decide whether viruses are life beings or not? And how did they even appear? Why we can't decide if viruses are alive or not. They can spread, mutate, adapt, consist of organic stuff. I know that's not enough to consider something as a life being, but it still confuses me. How did they even appear on Earth? Why we can't decide if viruses are alive or not. They can spread, mutate, adapt, consist of organic stuff. I know that's not enough to consider something as a life being, but it still confuses me. How did they even appear on Earth? It's hard because viruses sit right on the boundary of what we call life. A virus outside a cell is just a genetic blueprint in a protein, sometimes lipid shell. It has no metabolism, no ribosomes, no way to copy itself or make energy. By the usual checklist, eat, grow, respond, reproduce on your own, it fails. But once it gets into a cell, it uses the cell's machinery to copy, mutate, adapt and evolve, which are core lifelike behaviors. So whether it's alive depends on whether you judge the particle on its own or the virus plus host system doing the living. As for where they came from, there are three main ideas, and they may all be partly true. Some viruses look like runaway genes that escaped from cells and learned to package themselves, escape hypothesis. Like retroviruses related to mobile DNA. Some look like stripped-down descendants of once free cells that lost most parts and became parasites, hinted at by giant viruses with many cell-like genes. And some may be very old relics from before full cells existed, simple replicators from an early RNA world that survived by hitchhiking in modern cells. Different virus families have likely different origins, which is why the category is so weird. In practice, biologists treat viruses as evolving genetic parasites. Not alive in isolation, but very much part of the living world's ecology and evolution. A TLDR, focused on why it's confusing. A computer program isn't a computer, even though it may contain all of the instructions necessary to make a computer do things if it can find its way into one. Some of the computer programs come with enough active electronics to work in a USB port, and others are basically a little more than a floppy disk looking for floppy disk drive. So what happens if that program is an emulator for a different computer? The virus isn't a cell.